Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where last episode we visited the forensic laboratory to talk with Maria Gorey, asking about the admitted time of death from her autopsy report of Gregson, to learn that she had been asked to do so by Mel Strongheart, as we learned that the time of death was unable to be determined due to rotting fish found in Gregson's coat, suggesting meddling. We also found out that Clint Van Zieks had his autopsy performed here 10 years ago, with the records of it having gone missing, leading to Iris beating a hasty and suspicious retreat. We then moved back to the room on Fresno Street that Gregson's body was found, meeting with Gina and Toby, and attempting to examine a metal trunk present, only for Toby to have pounced on Ryunosuke, as we wonder what has become of him. Oh, Mr. Narahodo, are you alright? Miss Susato. Ah, conscious again at last. Blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier, most unseemly. What is or isn't seemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes. Thanks for the defense. I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? Ah, what's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water? Don't worry, Mr. Narahodo. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me. Oh, thank you. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry. Whenever you feel ready, then. Whenever I feel ready. Sholmes is in the back. But nobody stopped us from examining the trunk. Inspector Gregson's metal traveling trunk that was removed from the scene but subsequently recovered by Gina. That's the true cliffhanger. What is that? Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged. Whatever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. We're not going to find out any more about it than that at the moment. Let's have a look inside. Oh, not locked. Look, there's something inside. Oh, let's see. It appears to be a passport, authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then? Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh! What is it? It was for travel on 31st of October, just one day before the incident. What? Really? The passport has been entered into the court record. It was issued for travel to France the day before his body was discovered. Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered. That is weird. Do you see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk here. It's glinting. It looks like a fragment of metal of some sort. But it's wedged in so tightly I can't remove it. Well, don't cut yourself. You'd better leave it, I think. Well, that's going to be important. Speaking of, look at this dark stain here. Do you think? Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's blood. Ugh, I knew you were going to say that. So that presumably means that this was present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. It's the most logical conclusion, yes. I think Gina's been carrying this around with her. If you didn't know any better, I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. No. No. I've never seen red blood grease. I mean, we dodgy ketchup too. So look, I like that. It's the place for cigars to go, right? What else is there to examine on this trunk currently? That piece of metal is obviously incredibly important, but we didn't get it updated in the court record at all, even when we opened it. Which is kind of interesting. What did we? About the passport. No, but we got the passport. Name Tobias Gregson. Passport number ACDO522. Date of departure within 1 week from 31st of October. Destination is Port of Dunkirk, France. Purpose of travel, police business. Notes, permission for the applicant and 1 additional person to travel. Alright then. So what are we doing? Not that, that's for sure. That looks new, but is it? See, I've been keeping my desk beautifully covered in papers as always. You really must tidy it all up, Mr. Naruhodo. No more excuses. Miss Susato, the way I see it, all these papers building up on my desk like this are a reminder of my wonderfully diverse daily life. I like to leave them as they are so I never forget how lucky I am to have such varied experiences. In that case, you should definitely have a thorough tidy. Then you'll be able to see your papers building up all over again and feel that joy renewed. Still can't beat her in an argument, even though I'm the lawyer here. She's proven her chops, though. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment I feared that infamous murderer of so many had come back from the dead. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prize throat is unscathed. That stiff turned-up collar of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in the future, a little mustard spread on the cheeks should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Hey, what are we actually doing here, Sholmes? Whenever you serve me tea, it always takes me back to Japan. I know you're not particularly fond of the bitter taste, are you? So I do always try to pick out less bitter matcha for you. She does often serve up an unusually mellow blend, it's true. But the anticipation of the taste in my mouth makes me bitterly worried anyway. It is very difficult for you, isn't it? What am I looking at here? Seemingly nothing of massive import. Well, if that case, tell me what to do. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? It's rather unusual to find ourselves here in the middle of our investigations. Are you saying the exact same thing? Okay, I guess we just move on. Back to work as soon as possible. But where to? So relieved that you're alright, have some tea and relax for a little while. Okay. So on the 2nd of November, we moved to Sholmes Suite.
Herr mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, brodelt wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut.
I know it's German, but what the hell is this scene?
Mit dem Knacker ich befahl,
What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream? Ah, no, it's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris? Iris, what's the matter? Who is that sprawling, that relaxed gentleman over there? Do you not recognize him? Iris, is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean? The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of a reunion full of nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal, Iris. I'm so confused. She stood as white as a sheet. So as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Music Land, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Play to enjoy Herlock Sholmes' latest, Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. The game is afoot. Topic 1. Man's identity. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language, as evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So why is the man here at all and in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirits soar, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await sampling the flavor myself that I may join the fellow in his state of elation. Now, to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund von Ormstein, the King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed, wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the great exhibition. I know that much. The King of Germany is the man singing on the settee. So confusing, this one. Topic 2, the girl's silence. We not just call an apple, which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. A £5 note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the King's secret. And now the final piece of the puzzle. What is this secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes, we need only follow that brief involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup? It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his hijinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and Iris, you've tried to conceal it from me! I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. The girl silenced to hide the coffee cup. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle.
Mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, Boden Wien, Feuerberg, den Schlund des...
With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial wobbling rather rings in the ears, does it not? Mr. Sholmes? I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Miss Susato, to tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah. And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo? Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing. And according to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. Even I forgot that. Wait a second, even I? Of course I did. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourself. It could easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide of the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something, we need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene. But one truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we embark again on a joint presentation of Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular? Sure, course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. In the weirdest one yet, the King of Germany. Who's his identity really? Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly he's a German with no grasp of the English language, as evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So why is the man here at all and in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating wobbling is revealed by the herbal tea. So what? It's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing. Goodness, I should like to try some. And I'd like to hear your singing, but this man... just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? As I said, he's been stock still the entire time. And if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. Ah! So I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirits' singing. When I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris's gaze. Thanks for the cursor being where it is. Is it the herbal tea? Is it the mask? We can examine a fair bit, to be fair. Well, the cup's empty, that's for sure. So I suppose this mysterious gentleman must have drunk the contents. Iris's special blends are quite delicious, I agree. They always make my heart sing. So I can understand wanting to vocalize those feelings, certainly. In fact, Mr. Naruhodo, you often erupt in boisterous laughter after drinking Iris's tea. I do. Maybe I should take some lighter laughter lessons from Susato-san in the near future. He looks straight up dead. Come on, guys. We know this mask. Oh, you're right. So, does that mean... No, surely not. It couldn't be. Could it? No, it's most definitely not him. Oh no, of course it's not. Thank goodness. But then, why is it this gentleman now wearing it? I'm afraid once again, I really have no idea. Right, of course the topic is what's warbling, which we know. It's not him. Wait, this is a gramophone, still rarely seen in our country. The sound suddenly appears to be coming from the horn. The machine's singing. That can't be right. Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruhodo. What's right is changing too. Ugh, it's too much for my brain. Well, at least we found our answer.
Take that!
I like how she just said, that's it. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman would break into an obscure folk song when making a social call. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. The music seems to have stopped now. I ask you, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Was it about like a... I definitely heard like Schwartz and Diamant is diamond maybe, and S is first and other things. I don't know if Diamant is diamond at all, but it is another language, Diamante. Well, never mind, on with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? As it happens a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved, problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived in my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund von Ormstein, the King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. Although we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia, it seems Mr. Sholmes intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Master Gotz, the boy whom you had in tears. Don't remind me, or anyone else. Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do. Well, probably anyway. The point is, that mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right, as we well know. Because we can identify the true owner of this mask.
Take that!
Kazuma Asogi. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi. In other words, my memory is sublimely unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask has been languishing on this metal chest for several days. Though that doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it is now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. We knew it, but now they do. I don't believe it. Check for a pulse. Father! Check for a pulse! I'm afraid, Miss Usato, you must be mistaken. No, I think not, Mr. Sholmes. Then it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor is my unconscious father, Yujin Mikotoba. Logic and reasoning, or just looking and saying? Very true. is Yujin Mikotoba. But that's solved, but check his pulse! Topic 2. The girl's silence. Conclusion, to hide the coffee cup. No, serious business! Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. So that's a £5 note poking out from Iris's knapsack, is it? Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we encounter is in coin form. I know, I'm not even sure if we've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, Father would never have paid money for Iris's silence. He certainly seems like the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for Iris's silence, I suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard not to give away with her eyes is something entirely different. Okay. What are we looking at here? Can I rotate? Oh, I can. Only one way. Persian slipper? Let's click on that. This slipper features in the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, doesn't it? It does. When I first saw it there on the mantelpiece, I very nearly fainted with excitement. Doesn't Iris keep her 11s in there? Yes, that part was never mentioned in the stories. Well, you could swap it for the Japanese equivalent of a slipper for fun. In other words, for a wooden getter sandal. But then it wouldn't be possible to hide anything inside. Which matters because... something matters. You weren't allowed to open that, right? The metal chest. It contains important documents, doesn't it? Yes, details of all the cases Mr. Sholmes has worked on over the years. Written up by Iris's father, if I'm remembering correctly. Iris insisted that the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once shown me inside. Well, its contents are invaluable to her, I suppose. And entirely irreplaceable. But look at it now. It's slightly open. The catch is unlocked for once. Ah, so it is! That's hard to ignore. Very. I've never seen that chest unlocked before in all the time we've been staying here at Baker Street. It's gotta be that, right?
Take that!
It's not that. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection, there is something different about the chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now, the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No! Hurry, don't! Oh. Okay, maybe he's not dead. Mr. Sholmes! Hurley! No, he's dead. Never! Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris. Ah! In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... This is somewhat different to the usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm going to have to dance this next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... You mean you don't actually know the answer yet, despite the knowing point of the finger before? Miss Susato, sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. Right, it's on... Whatever it is on your person. That's a key she's holding. Look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It's appeared as if by magic. That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from? That why your thingy? For some reason, this knapsack is really standing out suspicious to me today. Oh, is it? It's quite sizable enough for a sizable secret. That's what I say. Perhaps it is, but we certainly can't open it up to look inside without Iris's permission. No, you're right. Who knows what might pop out and punch us? Pop out and punch knapsack. Anything else going on in the room today? Doesn't look like it, does it? Why couldn't you open your mouth for the whole time? Was the key in your mouth then? I take it as a yes.
Take that!
Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. Ah! Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest. You're so clever, Runo. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can well imagine what happened here. But... Professor Mikotoba also opened that metal chest only to be punched into the air. And land sprawled on the settee. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Kazuma-sama's mask? Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly, an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotoba opened the chest, completely unaware of what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. And the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious professor's fingers. You mean to say that the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is the Great Detective's office, after all. A place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less? Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. Brilliant, Runo. Thus concludes Ryunosuke and Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle. And thus concludes this episode of The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where we had to keep going until we got to the end of the deduction. It took us some weird places, but hopefully they are actually both alive. I was going, check his pulse! Okay, it's not that bad. It's just like, surely his mouth would be moving, I don't know. But they seem to both be unconscious, so I mean, you should check on them, like, more seriously than what you're doing, guys. So we'll check on them, hopefully, next time on The Great Ace Attorney 2. I'll see you guys then for more. Bye-bye.